we are really excited to present Alipta in front of friends of Figma right? And he's going to take a layers of AI sessions, more about layer AI things and how he's planning and everything. I was going through his LinkedIn post and everything. I was wondering what is all these things. So today is the time I am going to explore more about what this things, what are the presentation of what are the items he have in this layers of AI, and we are going to learn lots of things from their side. Right? So Alpida, welcome to Friends of Figma Thirunadapuram, and thank you for accepting our invitation and coming here. We really want to, with our all deep in heart. Thank you very much. And yeah, Alpida, more about Alpida. I think Alpida will tell more about himself here, right? Yes, Alpida, the podium is over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Avinash. I hope you all can see the screen and listen to me. Okay.
Yes,
Yes. So let me share it. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get started. Good evening, and thank you, friends of Figma Thiruvanthapuram, for this invitation. I've been doing this talk for quite some time. I have also given this talk in other different forums, and I feel that it's important to know what is the impact you can create as a designer. So once you go through all the slides, probably you'll have a better understanding. But let's get started, right? Rather than keeping waiting. Okay, before I start, these are my own viewpoints. So it sometimes it might not align with your thoughts, right? So don't put me behind bars. So the views expressed in this talk are entirely mine, and please do not sue me or my company. Okay, I'll start with a classic, story from the B school, business school, basically. So a shoe company wants to set up with their new market in a new country, and they send two salesmen, right? So one salesman went there, figured out the scenario, and he came back saying bad news. Nobody wears shoes here. Everybody's barefooted, right? The other person, the salesman B, he said, "Good news. Nobody wears shoes here. So we have a big business which you can focus on, right? So we can become rich, right?" So two different people with two different mindsets, right? So that's an example I give, right? So two different human beings with two distinct mindset, right? And I think this is very common across, because we all our cultural educational backgrounds, the way we have been brought up, everything is different, and every human being is different. Our perspective might change. Some might have a negative perspective, some might have a positive perspective, right? So the same actually is happening with AI. So for some part of the tech community, AI is a very promising technology. It can enhance your productivity. You can write, build softwares, right? Just making some prompts, right? And it's going to change the future. It's a game-changing technology, and a lot of things are happening right across AI. But the other part of the tech community is also saying that AI is scary, right? Because it's not a sustainable technology. It's going to leave a lot of carbon footprints, and it's going to take away my jobs and stuff like that, right? So we are all going through this, right? So this is Neil Postman. Neil Postman actually is an American author, a media theorist, and also a cultural critic, right? So he actually said, to any new technology, you should ask these 7 questions, right? Well, I'm not going to read out this question, but overall the gist is, technology may solve one problem. Of course, it solves a lot of problems, but it often creates many more, right? Changing the power, language, and society in ways we don't fully see, right? So we don't know the future, right? We are trying to analyze the future. We're trying to kind of understand like what would be the future looking like for us, right? And you're betting on that, right? So so humans actually rush, right? We don't stop, pause, and think, right? We always try to rush and adopt a new technology, right? But I feel that every new technology should be questioned, should be interrogated before it is celebrated. And while we adopt to rush, we either build a future which can be utopian future, a very ideal world where technology can uplift humanity, and either or it could be a dystopian future, a very dark future where technology drives everything and people have a lot of powers and stuff like that, right? So the big question is AI. Do we have a future by choice or by chance, right? We don't know, right? Okay, so a brief introduction about myself. My name is Alipta Ballav. So this is one of the recent workshop I did at the Bangalore location about finding agentic AI opportunities. A very successful workshop actually. The one guy in the middle, so that's me with a smiling face. And I actually was born in Howrah, West Bengal. I started in Kolkata, but now I live and work in Bangalore. I'm a co-founder of Design Shots, a design community. I'll talk about it in a little bit, and I also lead design at Microsoft. Right. So today I'm going to talk about layers of AI, relooking AI, and the role of design. So that's the topic. And before I start, a brief introduction about design shots. So design shots actually was a sweet accident during the COVID days. We wanted to build a community where people can come together, learn together, and build things together. Right? So we are actually in a mission to democratize design education, especially given the fact that AI is a new thing, and a lot of people might have different concepts about it, right? So we have to minimize that gap, right? And try to make design education accessible, inclusive, and meaningful for all. So that's about design shots. You can see one of the other co-founder in this photograph. So we are planning to do some friends. Yeah. So that's about design shots. Okay. So I think coming back to the topic, main topic. So every technological innovation, I think it follows a behavioral shape, right? So if you talk about industrial revolution. Steam engine, and then electricity, internet, smartphones, and of course computers and technology and stuff like that, and now AI, right? So every technological innovation is followed by a behavioral shift. It changes the way we think, right? About internet, the birth of internet actually shaped our behaviors, right? So we became content creators, active creators, from moving away from passive content consumers, right? So attention, trust, everything is like now shaped by the digital identity what you have, right? Now research said that uh, right now human beings attention span is 8.2 seconds, right? That's research which is saying, right? So we got a new habit, scrolling, googling, swiping, sharing. But of course, at the same time also there's a cause and effect, right? So every new technology uh, sh- also have economic impact, right? It created economic opportunities but also created inequalities, right? It of course empowered voices. The lot of influencers we see these days who talks about AI, and lot of other topics at the same time, right? And it also made the world open to all, but also made it very complex, right? And fragile. So today, if you imagine like uh, you know, internet runs on power, right? So if electricity goes off at your house, you're dead, right? So you cannot do anything, right? Sometimes it is said that electricity is a bigger invention than internet, right? Okay, so I was talking about behavior, right? So there's an interesting, behavioral theory by B.J. Fogg. He also is an American psychologist. So he said that there's something called, motivation, ability, and trigger. So what is that? If these three things converge to a point, your behavior is bound to change. So I just can take a quick example here. So let's say you want to remain hydrated, right, throughout your day. So that's the motivation you have. Now, what is the ability? you might keep your water bottle on your desk, right? And what is a trigger? So might be like every 2 hours, you might get an alarm, right? Water break alarm, right? So that means your behavior is changing. So if you want to remain hydrated, and you have the ability and you have the trigger, your behavior is bound to change. So that's BJ for behavioral model. There are a lot of other behavioral models, but this is a very interesting one, and I've done some research on this actually in my earlier work, right? So what I'm trying to say is, so behavioral shift starts with designers, right? What I'm saying is, because I was studying in a design school back in 1995, 96. So that time computer was just coming in, right? So we are still not learning computers, right? So I used to do concepts for advertisings, right? And these, what you see on the left side, so these are done by fine brush strokes, right? So, and it takes months to create one artwork, right? But today things have changed, right? So you just use Photoshop or any tool, right, to maybe make a better quality artwork, right? So that shift, right, to understand the technology, um, the softwares, everything, that took some time for me, right? And then once I started understanding, consuming the technical part of it, I could start produce better designs, right? So what I'm saying is, it starts with designers. So designers are the first person to get by any change in the technology, right? Any new invention in the technology. That's again my opinion, right? Please don't quote me here. So and then once we adopt our own behaviors, we start shaping users' behavior, right? But then the thing is, you also need to understand, like, even if you want to change the behavior, how does humans reason, right? I'll take a quick example here. So this is a toothbrush, right? Electronic toothbrush. Now this product actually is very aesthetically pleasing, right? And it tends to be more desirable. So products, the general concept is like product that's are aesthetically pleasing tends to be more desirable, right? Now what is a general principle I can take out of this? Like, any new product, any new toothbrush, if I need to build, it has to be stylish, trendy, right? So that it becomes more desirable. So that's actually deductive reasoning, right? You apply a known UX principle to a specific use case, right? And in this, the specific use case is the toothbrush, right? Now, of course, you all hate queues, right? Going to a bank, to Aadha Seva Kendra, ATM, hospitals, you all hate queues. And so we understand, like, we have seen these patterns from experience, like, so we observe this trend. And then after understanding this trend, we make a general UX guideline, right? But then look at this image. This is a painting by John Scott. Right? Now, the best guess which I could make out of this painting is, there's one kid who's running. Probably he's scared. I could see three faces, which looks very scary to me, right? And that's the best guess I can make out of this image. I don't have any other information at this point of time. That's called adaptive reasoning, right? We are making a best case based on whatever clues we have available, right? Based on the limited evidence, you can call it, right? So at the moment, I think designers are making the best case. We don't know the future, what's coming in, but we are guessing a lot of things, right? As I said, AI is promising, AI is scary, and stuff like that, right? And while you're doing it, we're adapting to change, you're navigating ambiguity, we're moving away from shipping to a lot of experimentation work these days. And of course, now there's a Figma, Friends of Figma event. We are really moving more from Figma to various other design tools these days, right? Especially vibe coding and stuff like that has becoming very popular, right? We're shifting from craft to curation, right? And of course, continuous learning is always there, right? You're learning about AI, you're learning about a lot of other things, right? We're navigating ambiguity. There's been a constant, shift from shifting business goals and priorities for us, right? Which is very common across, I see. And while you are adapting to change and navigating this ambiguity, you are also experiencing a lot of burnout, constant skill pressure, undefined goals, and because today even PMs are also designing with us, right? Engineers are also designing with us, and of course, we don't get much time also to think and deliver, right? People are on us, like on our shoulders to kind of deliver things way ahead of time, right? So the big question for today's design community, I would say, how can design remain relevant in this ever-changing world of tech, right? And this is John Meda, also design leader in Microsoft. He said that earlier using building models, those used to be the product like ChatGPT, or those foundational models, Gemini, ChatGPT, all those, right? But now what we are doing, we are building products that use that model, right? He also said that AI will teleport you to the goal, right? And you are moving in from user experience to agentic experience. I'll explain this in a bit. So imagine how do you book flights today, right? You go to the website, you search for flights, you add the passenger details, right? You then finally make the payment, right? That's how you do. You keep on hopping with the onto different screens and stuff like that, right? But this is the future we are envisioning, right? So you'll be probably talking to a bot, a physical bot, right? Please book a flight to Kolkata for Friday, 17th July 8 a.m., right? That's the future you're envisioning, right? And we are already making a lot of progress in this, right? Now, so what AI does for us, AI can automate. Definitely, if you hit any call center today, the first thing you talk to is a bot. It's not a human agent, right? It's always a bot, right? So that's automation. You're replacing some human efforts with machines, right? Augmentation, of course, in the health industry, doctors are taking a lot of benefit from AI, right? In making clinical decisions, right? It is enhancing definitely our human abilities, and down the line also we are giving independence to AI, right? So let's say your car insurance requires a renewal, right? You don't have to do anything; it will be done by an agent, right? Provided that all the information the agent has, right? So that's the future. Now, designing these probabilistic experiences is very challenging, but you're not designing any deterministic experience stage, right? It's mostly probabilistic, right? And this is a very recent post from Gartner. Gartner said that all the agentic AI projects, the technology is too expensive, right? And it has unclear business value, and often poorly suited to real world use cases. Probably you're investing a lot on AI, but are we solving the right use case? So that's one important question we all should be asking, right? And that actually gave birth to layers of AI. So now what is layers of AI? So layers of AI actually I would say is a strategic tool to help designers become more strategic. Like now there are 7 layers where it starts with AI vision and strategy. Uh, so we have to first establish a vision and strategy. Now again, vision is a very loaded word, right? Now, what is a vision? Like to me, how AI can be relevant for us? What is a business value we are targeting, right? Is it the right use case you are solving? So there are a lot of questions coming, like when it comes to vision and strategy, right? Now, as Jonathan Swift said, the vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. So basically, as designers, I think this is one important area where we can story tell the future, right? And Gartner actually has some answers to this question. Though they created an AI opportunity radar where they say that you can actually use AI in all these 4 major areas. You can really invest in making external customer facing applications. You can really invest in a game changing AI, or everyday AI, right? Like ChatGPT is like an everyday AI for us, right? Internal operations, like, so Gartner has tried to answer the question what I asked in the previous slide to an extent. So basically, to do as a designer, I should know that I want to build an AI solution that can do what. Right? So that's the big question. Probably AI for social good, right? Predict climate change, earthquake, flood, healthcare. So these are something I'm improving a society, right? AI for business, of course, drive efficiency, profitability, innovation. All these are definitely are a part of business, right? And of course, AI is a collaborative partner. So we are using a lot of design tools. Of course, Figma is definitely one of them. Plus other vibe coding tools, so that we can just with certain prompts we can create a full-fledged running website, right? And of course, making machines smarter as humans, right? Building reasoning capability and solve complex problems. There could be many more. These are few things. So I need to focus on only one area, right? So I want to build an AI solution that can really solve some social problems or solve some business problems or become a collaborative partner to me, right? So these are the questions to the answer, or rather the fill in the blank, right? Now, building vision again is complex, right? But as designers, what you can do, we have been translating complexity into clarity, and that's our primary role as designers. We can craft narrative with real human needs, and of course, as I said, we are great storytellers, right? We can show the glimpse of the future through storytelling and prototyping, right? And that's an area where design can become proactive and show our impact, right? Now, once we get to know, once we have some idea about the vision, we need to identify use case, right? Now, when I say identify use case, this is called a framework called BXT, where I need to understand what is feasible, what is viable, and what is desirable. So imagine like if you're traveling in a business, rather in an economy class, we all expect to have more leg rooms, right? But do you think this is possible? Is it viable for business? It is not, right? Business will never give you extra leg room because you're traveling in economy class. It can never be possible. So likewise, we need to figure out where everything converges. Like what is viable, what is feasible from a technical standpoint, and what is desirable from a human standpoint. But I would say I start from the desirability because I'm a designer, right? Many business people might start with what is viable for the business, right? So what you can do as a designer, we can create a customer journey map, right? Identify the existing pain points, right? And then also find out from those pain points some agentic or spot some AI agentic opportunities, right? And then finally you can create a new business model, innovation model out of it, right? So that's about identifying use case. Now, just identifying use case is not enough, right? You also have to understand like these are four quadrants basically, and to me, my investment would be on quadrant left, this quadrant where I'm showing some quick wins with some strong impact. So use cases which are having a high value but low complexity, those are my low hanging fruits, right? And I can quickly win something but still continue to build a stronger impact, right? On the right side, on the top right, you can see high value, high complexity use cases. These are like strategic initiatives, right? So every time you're defining a use case, you have to make your use case fall under any of these four quadrants, right? So that's about it. Now the third actually part is of course work with data, right? Now design again is a bridge between human and data, right? So imagine this scenario where there's a homicide and an investigator is finding out the information. He's investigating the case, and he knows like what kind of information I need, right, to solve this case. I fingerprints, forensic reports, CCTV footage. So he all knows about it, right? Similarly, I think as designers, we should know, right, what data we should be defining, right? What data needs we should have. Let's say if I want to build a fitness coach with AI, I need to know, right, what time of the day you hit the gym, right? What kind of exercise are preferable to you, right? Do you do a lot of cardio or do you do a lot of weight training, stuff like that, right? And even if you're doing certain things, is it easy for you, or is it hard for you? So all those, once you capture all this data helps us to further fine tune, right, our recommendations, right? And of course, the feedback loops, right? uh, our built-in product experience, where you need to constantly make the model and the data learn about, right, what is not right or what is wrong. And of course, human-centered labeling is important. Sometimes we need to capture the intent, right? So let's say I need it urgently, right? I need the delivery today. So that means there's some urgency in that, right? Or if you say I'm casually browsing, right? There's not much of urgency in that. So we need to understand those intent and appropriately label those information. And of course, prototype with data. So we are all doing it, testing LML output and all. Keep fine tuning those outputs, right? Of course, the next is understand AI models. Now, why do you need to understand an AI model from a design standpoint, right? Because I feel that if you don't understand an AI model, if you don't understand the limitations, you will not be able to put up the guardrails, right? So you need to know what a model can do and what model cannot do, right? So based on that, you can actually create appropriate guardrails, right? And you also need to know how reliable or interpretable its outputs are, and what are the areas where the model requires more fine tuning. Now, I'm not saying that only design should be a part of this initiative. I think design should also collaborate with engineers and PM to drive efforts, right? Design the conversation, right? Of course, it's just about what AI knows, but how it communicates. So let's say on the right side, I have a few examples here. I have just one example here. So let's say if I'm talking to a bot, I say I lost my card, right? And the bot said, sorry, I didn't get that. Please repeat. It's a very bad experience, right? Because the bot could not capture my intent, right? Now, the good UX could be, a good conversation design could be, I lost my card, and the bot immediately responding, I'm sorry to hear that. Let's get your card blocked right away. Can I confirm your last 4 digits? This is a better experience because the bot is able to capture my intent and design that flow of the conversation, right? And of course, there are certain age case design in the previous example, as I said, building those guardrails, those are important. So that can help you also build those use cases, right? And of course, the favorite part, we all love this, build the UI. Uh, Now, uh, AI outputs are mostly textual these days, right? Now, we can improve that. We have to read a lot of content. But can you create any UI widgets, right, which can give you a visual output of this textual information, right? And of course, the onboarding experience of an AI, right? Let's say you're building a tool where you need to connect with other agents, right? What is that onboarding experience, or rather, those connector experience and onboarding experience, where you are onboarding to an AI tool and you feel frustrated because you don't know what's the next step for you, right? So those things also are something which designers can create impact, right? We are building all those workflows as well. And of course, last but not the least, evaluate the experience, the most important part of design, right? We have to evaluate the experience. Now this is a very content heavy slide. There are a lot of metrics. We have something like technical performance, like what is the latency per tool call, right? What is the total task completion time? How much time AI is taking to call an API, and all those multiple things. What is the error rate and stuff like that. And the next thing, of course, is quality control, right? Uh, what is the output accuracy and adherence to requirements? What is the output format, right? Like as I said in our list, right? Is it very textual or is it more graphical, stuff like that? And whether I am also adhering to the context, right? When I say context, it's mostly about intent and stuff like that. And again, context engineering actually is a new field these days, right? So task completion, again, the overall effectiveness of an agent, right? The success rate, the task completion rate, step per task. And you can also capture some kind of a sentiment analysis, right? And you can always give score to that sentiment, right? Whether I'm happy with the response or whether I'm not happy with the response, what I expect, and so all those things, right? And of course, the last and but not the least, the tool interaction, right? Where you need to know whether you are selecting the right tool for the task, right? And what is the tool success rate and stuff like that, right? So that's pretty much about layers of AI. I want to just end up with one thing. In the age of AI, I would say design goes beyond interfaces, right? We need to redefine what is craft, right? I would say craft is not just UI. And my experience has always said that, rather, I've always seen that we designers love our craft and we always focus on building crafts, but the definition of craft is changing these days, right? The definition is craft is not just what you build on the tool with Photoshop or Figma or whatever, right? It is about critical thinking, right? You need to understand why this is important, right? You need to question the technology. You need to apply the system thinking, like every dots are connected, right? So if you change one thing, it will definitely affect the other, right? And of course, a good trade-off, right? If I need to build something, I have to forgo something, right? And storytelling, of course, our designers are great at storytelling, right? And this is, of course, last but not the least, is more ethical AI design, like whether you're building a responsible AI, how much guardrails you're putting in that experience, all those matter. So the definition of craft for designers is changing, right? But the question is, are we ready to accept this, or are we even getting the right direction to adopt this change, right? Yeah, so that's about it, and thank you. I am available on LinkedIn. If you want to ask any questions, I would love to answer. I don't know if you have time for Q, but if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer this one time. Yeah, thank you.
So there is a question in the chat. How do you manage interconnected parts and trade-off when creating something?
Hold on, let me go to the chat. How do you manage interconnected parts and trade-offs when creating something? See, there's no direct answer, Gulam, to this question. Like, this is purely based on the use case. Like, I think this is exactly where you apply your systems thinking, right? If you're building something, right? Uh, as I said, you have to forgo something. So it's basically an opportunity cost, right? If I want to build something, I definitely have to get rid of something else, right? So that trade-off has to come from your experience, and you have to talk to your, you know, PMs or engineering. So you should be the voice of the customers or your users. So you should question whether you're building the right thing or you're building the wrong thing, right? So maybe short and sweet. So that's what I have on top of my mind.
So I have a question, Alipta. So you mentioned about finding the apt AI agent. So have you
Mhm.
figured out any AI agent even in the UX process or AI process? I mean, most of them
Yes.
are a biased one as the market is evolving. So do you have any recommendation, the tools to try out in UI UX workflow?
See, see, don't focus on tools. Uh, I'd say, when you're building an AI experience, right, you get involved right from the beginning, right? So that's important. That's the first step you should be doing. Now, definitely many designers are not doing it at this point of time. So they are only being consulted at the stage where you're trying to build some concrete workflows or scenarios. But I would say, in fact, I was a part of one of the previous engagement where I included design right from the beginning, right? And we are a part of the entire development process where we sat with engineers. We are able to understand how the model works, what are the limitations of the model, what kind of guardrails we're expecting, right, to be put so that the model doesn't hallucinate and stuff like that. And also, At the end, we are able to fine tune using system prompts, right? So there are two types of prompts. One is a user prompt, one is system prompts, right? Now, system prompt is something which is a very engineering thing, right? Engineer actually do a lot of fine tuning using the system prompt, but we understood that, right? Now, I would say why a designer need to understand what is a system prompt, but that's the future. We all have to be AI experts down the line. We all have to be very technical savvy, right? So design is not just only building great screens, great UI screens. It's also about, especially in the age of AI, things are changing rapidly. So understand these concepts and try to work closely with your engineering team and PM counterparts to get involved in the process, right? And that could help you a lot, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, as you're saying that, at what stage of product life cycle the AI should be involved? Is it from the start or in between?
See, yeah. So, what stage of product life cycles? See, we are build the traditional product life cycle is different, Arun, right?
Yeah.
So now
Agentic
we
design
are
process.
we are spotting AI opportunities to make things work. So we can actually, why are building agents today? Because we want to offload certain tasks to the agents, right? Now, where are those areas? That is something you have to figure out while you're starting a project, right? While you're starting a workflow, and that design can come in, right?
Okay. There are a couple of questions in the chat from
Mhm.
Hari Krish.
Yes, this is a great question, Srijit. A great point, actually. I think you already answered your question. Are you shifting to service design? Yes, we are shifting to service design from basic UX to design. Since AI is literally crafting the UI screens, how should we approach this shift? Yeah, see, AI is not just crafting the UI screen. That is exactly what I said in this talk, right? AI is more about building that experience, right? UI screens is just a template, right? Any chatbot you have to build, you just have one UI screen, like uh, the way you design a response, or the way you design the bot, how the bot would respond. So that's a template you already have. But how you're building the conversation, right? So in the build a conversation slide I shared, right? So are you able to capture the intent properly? Are you able to build a conversation based on that intent, right? So that is where a design can come in, right? And we have to understand the customer journey, right? So where are those areas where AI can come in and play a bigger role? Yeah, some more questions. What is a designer's role in the future? We seem to be going more into the technical side. Of course, we are becoming more technical. That's true. Where is the creative roles? That is exactly I said in my last slide. Where is the creative role in the process? So we have to be storytellers. We have to become more responsible AI designers, right? We have to understand system thinking and a lot of other related facts. So the role of designers definitely is changing in the future. We are not just going to build beautiful screens. uh, we are building a complete experience, right? You're building conversation. Yeah, so that's, I'll keep it short. Yeah, Ganesh, you have something. Can you say about the vibe coding for designers? How can we make sure ideas to real life to PMs and developers, something like stuff? Yeah, so Ganesh, actually, I've been trying lovable.dev. I was able to build something very quickly by giving some quick prompts, and it's working. It's a working example. Another thing is, it is still too early, right? But to show a concept, we you have to rely on prompts, right?
Mhm.
That is what design can do. But if you're a developer, let's say, you can go to the code and change the workflow, right? Which is something we don't expect our designers. But I would say, if design really want to create impact, right, I think some amount of coding knowledge is important. for designer, because when I I'm a design graduate. I started my career as design, but I moved into technical side for 10 long years. I moved into front end technology. I left design completely, right? And then I came back as a designer after many years, just to learn how it works, how engineering works actually. Yeah. In what ways you have to upskill ourselves in terms of as a UI UX designer so that you should not be left out or vanish? This is a good question, Danish. Which way you have to upskill? I think it's the age of experimentation, Danish, right? So you have to try and test a lot of things, right? There's no traditional method where you learn a course. I mean, and there are a lot of AI courses these days who talks about prompt engineering and vibe coding and stuff like that. But I would say you do it by practice. You learn by doing it, right? So I think rather than investing on these courses, I think you should start experimenting on your own, right? Pick up any a vibe coding tool or any there are a lot of freelancing learnings in LinkedIn where you can get a lot of clarity about agents. What is an agentic workflow? Agents and agentic workflow are different, right? And basically after you have to upskill yourself by doing it. That's what I feel, and that is something we have been doing as designers. How can I tell the difference between what a human designs and what AI creates? See, we are, of course, Siban, Thomas. Good question. The thing is, humans always would be driving, right? They're always in the driver's seat. So we are only who are building that AI as a tool, right? So of course, I think the human validation, the human creativity, that is never going to vanish, right? So, but having a tool, right, like agentic tool, helps us to improvise and get more concepts, do a quick prototyping, analyze, validate our thoughts and stuff like that. So that's like a personal assistant, right? So I think AI, and again, of course, there are a lot of reasoning models which are coming these days where AI would become more intelligent. AI would also become artificial general intelligence, which are planning for the future, right? And that's future. You don't know how it looks, what we can, what would be in the control of human and what will be in the control of AI. We don't know that. So that's what I said. You're making a best guess here, right? Things will go in that direction, and we're adapting based on what is available to us at this sort of time. But until you see the future, we don't know what was going to be. Thank you, Shivani. If designers doesn't know the coding, can't they excel in the future? Does it get limited? I don't know. I seriously don't know, Shivani. If the designers doesn't know the coding part, whether they can excel in the future. But I would say this is my personal opinion. Don't quote me again. Uh, it gave me a lot of advantage as a designer to sit on the other side of the table, um, and when designers used to give requirements to me, right? I used to analyze. Okay, how do you convert this? Simple example I give you, when I became a front end developer many years back. I used to ask, okay, so how do I build this page? Tell me what I mean. I used to tell them this is missing, this active state is missing, or this drop down state is missing, right? So that gave me a lot of advantage, right? And I think if you learn coding, it's advantage. It will be advantage for you because I don't know the future, right? We are called to be architects of the future, not in victims. Yes, good quote, Saurabh. Siban, again, you have another question. In the future, will designers guide and manage AI like a curator or team leader instead of creating everything themselves? Of course, yes. That's the future we're aiming for. I don't know how it's going to look like. Of course, you're in the early stage of envisioning this future, but I think if you're if you're getting into a meeting, of course, these days we already have an AI, bot coming also joining a meeting, right? So maybe down the line, you might talk to your own personalized assistant to build some quick concepts, right? So that's a future you're envisioning. Yeah. Is creative prompting really needed to get good results from AI design tools? Of course, yes. Prompting, of course, is an art. I would say you understand how to effectively prompt to the AI tool, and there are definitely some rules of prompting. So you can always go to the internet, find them out. Okay, sorry, what is the other part of the question? Can someone without a design background also use MFT? Of course, yes, yes. Uh, you don't have a designer to know prompt engineering.
Alipta,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm asking, mention you mentioned about lovable like vibe coding. So some
Hmm.
of any UI agents which we can try it out.
Hmm. UI agent. Sorry, what is it? UI agents you can.
Agents which we can try it out. I
Hmm.
mean, rather than going to ChatGPT
Hmm.
or a Gemini or any other tool, have you found any sort of AI agents which help a UI UX to be added in the workflow? Anything to be named or where we can download from the Git repo or anything just to work on?
I don't know. I don't know. Seriously, don't know. Actually, I've been doing a lot of experiments with Copilot Studio and Lovable,
Mm-hmm.
and also Google AI Studio. And the experience looks very similar. Just using few prompts, you can build something. Uh, but I don't know what agents uh, would be helpful to build something quick products.
Yeah, I
I,
have also tested some of the thing, but I see a common pattern most of the vibe using. Either they are using a same common library like a ShatCNN, Nest.js, or React. So
Mhm.
giving the same prompt with the same thing, but most of them are AI agents right now. Maybe in future, as you said, when it can evolve, we'll give a different pattern of design. Even in the Figma make also, they are using the same kind of pattern.
Correct.
uh, I haven't not tried out anything from the Microsoft thing. Have you tried any sort of different kind of experience from while you prompting, or are you getting any similar kind of results?
No, no, the results are not similar, right? So every time I'm using different tools, the same prompt might produce a different output, right? And that is something which I experimented also while I'm prompting in Copilot Studio something, and the same prompt I'm using in let's say Gemini, Google AI Studio. So those are different, and the same also with Lovable. So because see everything, because it's based on how the model is actually producing the output, right? What are the different weights you're giving, what are different tokens they're using, how the intent is captured. A lot of things goes in the pipeline, right? So and since this is mostly a probabilistic experience, right, it's not like 2 plus 2 always be 4, right? So 3 plus 1 also is equal to 4. So those kind of experience I'm telling. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, Saurabh, I think you have said something, but that's a social e-commerce. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
There is a question from Kapilan. Is creative prompting really needs to get good results from AI design tools, or can someone without a design background also
Yeah,
use
I
them?
actually sorry,
Oh,
I responded back. So what I said is you don't have to be a designer to become a prompt engineer, right? Yeah.
so, any more question, Avinash, from your side? So, people, if you have any questions, please put it on chat. And Alipta had shared his LinkedIn URL here. So, if you have any more questions, you can just directly connect with him on the LinkedIn.
I see one more question from Shivani. Any question for some who wants to shift from managerial graphic role to UI UX career? What stepwise guide should you follow? Because there are so many people and courses everywhere. Good question, Shivani. I don't. See, I would say if you really want to, there are two ways, right, where we can shift from graphic to UI UX, right? One way is you can take up UX education in a reputed college, right? That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is you can get into some internship as a UX designer and understand like what is a UX process, how do you work as a UX designer, and stuff like that. So that there are two different ways you can handle this scenario, right? And whatever might be feasible from your end, that is something you have to decide, right? Of course, you can talk to different mentors. They might give you a lot of different responses, but you have to figure out your own career because your career is in your hand, right? Whatever is feasible, do that. That's what I'd say. Yeah, thank you, Shivan.
Thank you, everyone. I think we can come to the close of the session. Yeah.
Shruti, I think Shruti, you have a question?
No,
Yes.
so are you free?
So I would like to thank you once again, Alipta, for such an insightful and thought-provoking session. On behalf of Friends of Figma Thirunanthapuram, I would like to express a heartfelt gratitude to taking the time to share your ideas, experiences, and vision for how design can actively shape the future of AI. To everyone who joined us tonight, thank you for showing up with so much curiosity and energy. Your presence and participation are what that makes the session meaningful. A big shout out to the entire team. Your effort is what brings this community to life. As we close, let's remember design isn't just about responding to AI, it's about guiding it, questioning it, and make it more human. Stay curious, keep learning. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank